Tonight's song is another 1968 song, and actually it's two songs, but they're kind of the same song, but we'll get to that. This is a song by Jimi Hendrix, and it kind of goes without saying that Jimi Hendrix is one of the greatest guitar players of all time. And I think there's a reason he's remembered that way, because he was really kind of at the intersection of two worlds. Jimi Hendrix was kind of like a Delta blues man for the space age. He was really he kind of cut his teeth on this traditional blues music that would be like a guy on the street corner stamping out a beat with his foot and like playing this groove on the guitar. And Jimi Hendrix very much had those skills, and then he arrived on the scene in the late 60s when the sounds that could be made with a guitar were suddenly exponentially growing. So he started using things like a wah-wah pedal, which could make a guitar sound more like a human voice. He had a whammy bar, which could make it sound like a plane dive bombing. He had all these other cool effects like echoes, or he had an effect that made it sound like he was playing underwater. So he was really kind of he took all these old bluesman sounds and then suddenly plugged them in and made them sound like they were coming from outer space. And that was really kind of a big part of a lot of his music. And that's a big part of the song that I'm going to play tonight, which is called Voodoo Child. And the lyrics are really interesting because they're kind of a mix of this like Delta blues, voodoo, mojo, swagger thing that's a part of all the old blues music, but then he takes it and adds in all of these references to like science fiction-y things and galaxies and other planets. And so he's really kind of taking this old blues tradition and like bringing it into the decade that he is in, and really, sending rock music down this whole other course using this folk blues tradition. So those lyrics are a big part of the song that I'm going to sing tonight. And this song, Voodoo Child, it came out, two versions of it came out on Jimi Hendrix's album from 1968, which is called Electric Ladyland. And the fourth song on the album, Batting Cleanup, so it's an important song, was this song, Voodoo Child. And it's 15 minutes long, and it's very informal. It sounds kind of like a jam session. There are these other famous musicians playing on it, and you can hear them talking and yelling back and forth in the song about like what's going on, who's soloing. You can hear applause at a couple points. It sounds kind of like they're playing in Jimi Hendrix's living room, which was kind of part of that album. Was he finally got his own home studio and he was able to start doing all this stuff. So it's this 15-minute epic song. It's really cool. It builds and then comes back down and then builds again, and it's got all these like voodoo mojo lyrics and then all these spacey galaxy lyrics all just coming together. And so they recorded this 15-minute epic song, and then a couple of days later, Jimi Hendrix and his core band, so his bass player and drummer, had to go do filming for BBC, where they're supposed to go into the studio and act like they were recording. And so Jimi Hendrix starts playing this groove, which is similar to the Voodoo Child song he had recorded. And they did the shoot or whatever, and as they're doing it, Jimi Hendrix says to his band, "Hey guys, we need to record this." And so they run through it a few more times, and the final version they record. And this version, which is like maybe 5 minutes long, is kind of a distilled and sped up version of the 15-minute song. And this 5-minute version is the Voodoo Child that all of us know, which is maybe the quintessential Jimi Hendrix song. It starts out with this funky wah-wah intro and has like a drum beat where it just sounds like this guy sitting on a street corner playing the guitar, and then suddenly Jimi Hendrix turns up the volume and suddenly we're blasting out to outer space. And the lyrics kind of reflect that a little bit too. And so it's a song that really just kind of captures all of what Jimi Hendrix is about. And it's an AAB form song, so it's not exactly a blues, but it's very much in the blues tradition. It has this thing where he sings one line twice and then has another line that answers it. And that's very much a blues thing. So this whole song, both of these songs, are an example of taking folk music and turning it into modern music that means something to people at the time that you're recording it. And I also love the two versions of the song, how, you know, I don't know how much time and effort Jimi Hendrix put into writing all the verses for this 15-minute one and getting these musicians all lined up, and they did all these takes of it. And then a day or two later, he records this 5-minute version that is just like all of the highlights of that 15-minute version in one song. So what I'm gonna do is kind of a mashup of the two. I'm gonna start playing Voodoo Child the way Jimi Hendrix first played it, where it's kind of like a slow blues almost. And it gets into some spacey lyrics. And the longer version actually provides some backstory. So the short Voodoo Child is really pretty spacey and there's not really any story to it. But when you hear the first one, the second one makes a little bit more sense. Not a lot more sense, but a little more sense. And then I'll go from that slower version into the faster version, which is the one you're probably going to recognize. So we will have Voodoo Child, Voodoo Children. The two Voodoo Children. Here we go. Gypsy was right and she fell down dead. Well, mountain lions found me there. They sent me on an eagle's wings. Well, mountain lions found me there. Sent me on an eagle's wings. Now I'm 1,000,000 miles away, but you can still hear my guitar ring. And they said, well, I'm standing right next to a mountain, chop it down with the edge of my hand. Well, I stand up next to a mountain, chop it down with the edge of my hand. Well, I pick up the pieces, make an island. Might even raise a little sand. 'Cause I'm a voodoo child. Lord knows I'm a one of these days. I didn't mean to take up all your sweet time, giving back to you the rest of my days.